A lot of people wonder, and a lot of people make statements of why don't these girls run? Why don't they take off and go to the police when they see one near them? A lot of the girls in human trafficking are allowed to go to the store. They do things, they go with customers. Why don't they run away in between? There's a couple of reasons, and very, very solid reasons they don't. Number one, most of them, they don't have their passports. If they're foreigners brought here, they have no passports. They don't trust the police. The countries they come from, the police are working with the human traffickers. And that's the worst thing you can do, is to go to the police. But for the American kids, the reason they don't run away, they, again, as I've explained before, they get raped 8, 10, 20 times a day. And this is repeatedly, repeatedly. It just breaks them and breaks them. And they're moved from house to house. Once they're grabbed off the street, there's no more than 48 hours before once they're grabbed off the street, within 30 minutes or an hour, they're taken to a safe house. They're raped there multiple times, and they're moved within 48 hours from there. The next house, it's the same thing. Just constant, the abuse, the raping. By the second or third house, they succumb to anything. They're just trying to survive. And they also, the kidnappers, they will come and they will show a photograph. They plan these things. They know who they're going to kidnap. Sometimes it's an arbitrary, but most times they know who they're going to kidnap. They know when they walk alone. They look for girls and guys who walk with their head down. They're kind of shuffling. They don't pay attention to what they're doing. They can see that's a target. That's an easy target. If you walk straight up, you look around, you're aware, you have your stride, male or female, you have your stride, you're positive, you're walking, you're totally aware of people. They look at that and they go, I'm going to have trouble. The last thing these people want is someone screaming, someone making noise. That is the last thing they want. If you start screaming, if the child starts screaming, anyone that gets grabbed, you kick and you scream, tear at the eyes, because they do not want anyone to get a look at them. If they say, if you run, I'll shoot you, 99.9% of the time, they're going to miss. If you run, you don't obviously just run in a straight line. If you take off and just zigzag a little bit, odds are, they are not going to fire and shoot you in the street or where they got you. That's going to bring attraction. That's not why they came there. They didn't come there to shoot you. They came there to take you. So, number one, you've got to do that. But another thing these kidnappers do, that's for the victims. These girls that are already in it, that are the victims, they have been so programmed after the raping, they will show a girl pictures of her sister, her younger sister, through a scope, a telescopic sight in the crosshairs of a gun. And that will be aimed perfectly at their younger sister or their father. And they will have a man come up to the street, and like they'll have any one of their guys walk up and say, excuse me, and touch their hand on the shoulder of the father or the other girl and say, do you know what time it is? And the pictures will be being taken. And you see this person touching your sister or your father. And they show you the picture. And then they say, Bob, come in here. The door opens up, and this poor 16-year-old girl sees the man who was just in the photograph touching her father's shoulder. That's how close they are. Now, you think that little girl's going to say anything? You think she's going to run to the police? You think she's going to go in it? Not going to say a word. She's scared to death herself, but she certainly doesn't want her younger sister brought in. She certainly doesn't want her father shot. And they believe that if they do anything wrong, their families getting hurt or killed will be their fault. It's all their fault. These people are the most ruthless, sadistic, subhuman people you have ever come across in your life. These girls they're programmed. They're scared to death. The internet has made this so easy for these guys, and it's so sick. If you have a child and your child is on the internet, there's no such thing as privacy. None. If you are a parent You should know what your child is doing on the internet. They are not smart enough. They are not clever enough to understand the level of conning and conniving and the lying and how professional and proficient these people are at this. They will get tricked easily in the internet. And these guys will use, these traffickers will use young, good-looking guys that will invite them to a party, and all they think they're doing is running away. And I cannot count the cases of kids that have jumped out their bedroom window. I did it when I was a kid. Everybody jumps out the window and runs away for a couple of hours, and goes out and parties with their friends and sneaks back in, to the house. You only got to do that one time now with the internet and with the wrong person. You'll never come home, ever. So you must have a tracker on all the GPS. You must know what your kids are doing on the internet to protect them. You don't leave alcohol in your kids' rooms. You don't leave a bottle of scotch in your kid's room. You wouldn't allow that. Why in God's name would you leave a computer in your child's room where he can shut the door and do whatever he wants? They don't have the frontal lobe. They don't have the logic and the reasoning. They can't determine from good, what's right, wrong, good, how far to go. They think they're invincible. That's not going to happen to me. So the internet is the predator in the world today. That internet is more dangerous than any of those guys out there because it will take your kids to that guy.